Okay, I'm going to get started now. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's David Wolf, and we might have some stragglers. I will be recording the session, so we'll be able to share it to people that didn't attend. And if you missed something and didn't catch what I said, you'll be able to get the recording. Also, if you email me, I'll be happy to send you a PDF of the presentation slides. So thank you for joining me today. The topic today is Zero Trust Architecture. I'm going to take the confusion and out of this, and this is relatively new, and I guess in computer terminology, this is kind of a new strategy for security. I'll explain why it's become, even though it was started in 2008 with a report by Forrester Research. It really didn't start taking hold until recently, and a lot of it has to do with all the changes with ransomware and cybersecurity and even work from home and those kinds of things. So we'll talk about all that. And when you're done, you'll be an expert on Zero Trust. No, I'm just kidding, but we'll have a better understanding about it and how it can fit in your business, in your security model for your business. So let's get started. First, for some of you who don't know me, I've been in the industry over 35 years now. Yeah, I started when I was 10 or 12, I guess. No. Got a degree from RIT, went on, got a master's from Roberts. Love tech. First job was at Spurry Univac. They invented the first mainframe. And got my love for computers at RIT. I've gone on to really focus on security. It's a big push. Obviously, I want to protect our clients. And so we've done that. Just Solutions has been around since 97. Next year, we'll be celebrating our 25th anniversary. So you'll join us for that party. We have a lot of clients in Western New York, and through organic growth, we've got customers all over the country now. So we're here to help you. I do these webinars really as an educational service to our clients, and helping them understand the technology that they're running their business on so they can make better business decisions and choices. So what is Zero Trust? That is the new term. You're going to hear it referred to as Zero Trust Architecture, Zero Trust Framework, Zero Trust Security. It will go by a lot of different names, and it is really a security model on how to make sure you're identifying both the user and the devices to make sure they're legitimate, and you authenticate them and make sure they're legitimate on your network. And you might say, well, aren't we already doing that? Well, we are and we aren't. What's changed is a lot of where we work from. So Zero Trust is not a new product or service. It's really not replacing your current security measures. That's what it's not. What it is it's a new mindset. So we're now worried about all our devices, and we're assuming that they're going to be infected. We're assuming that all users could endanger our critical resources. Now, why has this become more important? Well, the biggest reason is work from home. That's one of the biggest culprits here. Also, the fact that we're working from mobile devices, we're working from tablets, laptops. We're doing that BYOD, which is bring your own device. Companies have employees that are using their own equipment, or their own computer at home or laptop or tablet. So that's kind of why this has becoming a bigger issue. So we'll delve into that deeper, but let's kind of take a look at where we were with this and where we're headed. So the the perimeter is gone with Zero Trust. We're so used to using a firewall, and I'll explain that as well, that potentially your business has gone beyond the four walls of your office. You have people at home. You might have people on the go. You have people I have customers that have people using computers in their vehicles for service. There's just so much going on in terms of how we're working that just having this perimeter protection with a firewall is kind of changing this, why this dynamic is so important. So here's the 3 basic principles of zero trust. So remember, zero trust is not a security measure. It's more of a thought process change. It's a paradigm shift on how we think about things. We used to basically do trust and verify. Now we want to verify everything. We want to give out least privilege. So no one's logging in as an administrator. No one has full access to their computer or to the servers. We're restricting and minimizing people's access to the task at hand and what they're working on. Perfect example of why this is important is how Snowden was able to steal the secrets from the NSA is when he switched positions and became a security analyst and access to security data, they never turned off his system administrative privileges, which is why he was able to actually take the data and write it to a USB drive. Typically, the security analyst doesn't have access to that kind of hardware. Systems administrator has access to that hardware, but not to that data. Well, they never fixed his permissions, so they never fixed the least privileged access capability of him, and that's how he's able to do what he was doing. The other thing is we need to assume a breach. Now, what am I saying? I'm not saying you've already been breached, but we have to assume you're going to have one if you haven't had one yet. That's the best principle. It would be really, you could never go through life saying, I'm never going to have a car accident. I don't need car insurance. It's just not realistic. Well, we're at the point now with so many people and so many companies have been breached. We need to make our security about the assumption that we are breached and what are we going to do about it. So these are the 3 main tenets of zero trust. That is, we must verify, we must really go to a least privilege, and we've got to assume that we're going to be breached. So what do we do to minimize the damage? So this was the traditional approach. I go back to medieval castle, and we relied on a moat and a wall to protect everyone inside. And that's kind of our assumption with our firewall. We've worked really hard to build up this perimeter protection and make sure nothing got into our network. Well, what have we done with work from home? We've given people VPN access. We're letting people connect via other devices. We've moved to the cloud in some cases. So now we have people working in a cloud environment and the office environment. Our data is sitting in a cloud environment somewhere, whether it be Google Workplaces or Office 365, or maybe a third-party vendor that's hosting your data and your programs for whatever vertical application you use. We have now basically moved things outside that castle. So the castle and that protection is part of the problem. Well, we'll talk more about why this model is the older model. This was the firewall model that we all got comfortable with. And we did a pretty good job. We got our firewalls to be pretty darn reliable and useful for protecting us from penetration attacks. Well, what didn't we do? Well, with the modern workforce, we didn't necessarily see this coming. With the work from home, the hybrid, the pandemic really pushing this to the limit for people. Now we've given more and more users the ability to work remotely. We're accessing more and more systems outside the perimeter, outside the firewall, and we're still trying to protect our servers and our data that's inside the company, but a lot of times the data is not sitting there. So we have to admittedly change our perspective on how we're going to trust and where we're going to trust. So here's the new paradigm. Instead of trust and verify, which we've always heard for years, it's never trust and always verify. So if you think about coming into a building and using your key or your fob and you get into the building. Once you're in the building, you pretty much are capable of roaming everywhere. Unless maybe it's a government facility and they have door fob access on each door, and you can only go into the doors and the offices that you should have that level of restriction. That's obviously a good idea. So that's an example of not trusting, right? So every time you go somewhere, you need your fob to get into this door or that door or whatever. Well, we're talking about not trusting a device. You come in with a phone and you jump on the wireless network. We don't know if that phone's been compromised. You come in with your own tablet or laptop, you jump in on the public Wi-Fi or even the company Wi-Fi. Why? They share the password. In a lot of companies, the password for the Wi-Fi is on the break room door or on the office door or whatever. It's posted. It's shared freely. You can ask anybody, can I have a, what's the Wi-Fi password? And they'll give it to you. That's really not this never trust, always verify. That's really being too trusting. And so now we have to really check every device. Should it be on the network? When something gets plugged in, we need to be alerted that it's plugged in. So that's what never trust also means. And then always verify means constantly checking. You'll start to see that situation now as I get into more of this, when we talk about multi-factor and we talk about verification. You might already notice that Microsoft prompts you a lot more than they ever did in terms of, your username and password verification. Least privilege and default deny. What we're changing here is not default allow. What we're saying is by default, you don't have access to that program. By default, you don't have access to that printer or that file or that folder. It's not taking a privilege away, it's giving privilege. So the old way administrators worked is you got access to the public share, you got access to the company share, you got access to those map drives. Now we're going to turn around and say, nope, we're going to shut down all that shared access and only give you the access that you need to do your job. That's kind of least privilege. Now, I've said this for years. When I started promoting cybersecurity, I always said security is an inconvenience. Well, this is no different. I'm telling you that this zero trust model is considered probably one of the biggest pains in the asses in terms of security of what we have to deal with. But without it, we really are allowing free reign for someone who does get in. And we'll talk about the results of not doing this. And then full visibility inspection means we monitor the activity inside and outside, not just what hits the firewall, but we want to monitor the traffic inside the network. A lot of my customers are used to a program that we've added called Huntress. Well, Huntress is hunting inside the network, looking for network anomalies. Why is this PC here trying to access that PC over there? What reason does that application have to do with talking with another computer? So that visibility of checking why something is trying to go across the network, traverse the network internally, is just as important as someone knocking on the firewall trying to get in through the outside. So things aren't so much an attack via a brute force and firewall. It tends to be more of a visibility thing. And then centralized management means we have to have the ability in cases for users to make things easier through single sign-on and things of that sort. So now that you're accessing things in the cloud, your local computer, office computer, you're doing all these things remotely, we do want to centralize that management to make it a little bit, obviously, to lessen the inconvenience of the cybersecurity. So let's look at what's changed. Well, our firewalls got better. So if you're a hacker, if you're a thief, if you're a cyber criminal, you got to figure out ways to get around the firewall. Our VPNs got better. We got encryption. We're people aren't just using RDP and remoting in, they're using VPNs. We added encryption to things. So encryption got better. So what do the criminals have to do? Cyber crimes have got profitable. It's profitable, right? When they ransomware and the pipeline pays them millions and the meat packing company pays them millions. When they get these millions in ransomware, does it stop? No, it encourages them. They're making money. It's $1 billion business. They're going to keep doing it. What else has changed? Ransomware, cryptocurrency. Now they have a way of getting paid with and not have it traced. It's pretty cool, huh? They don't have to worry about the Secret Service or the FBI showing up because of the huge cash withdrawal from the bank. No, now they're using cryptocurrency to get paid the ransom, not traceable. They're working on tracing that stuff, but you get the idea. These are some of the things that have enabled this problem. And then one of the biggest ones is social engineering phishing. They got smart, these hackers. They figured out, well, we can't get through the firewall. We can't get through the VPN. Encryption is really good. We still are making good money on and profitable cybercrime. Well, what do? Let's use social engineering. Let's trick people. And then the biggest thing, believe it or not, that has helped make this 2021 the best year ever for ransomware and cyber criminals is, of course, the pandemic and work from home. People being tricked and all kinds of ways. I mean, there's literally, if you go to, I have a report I can share with you from Proofpoint, which is one of the filtering companies that a lot of people use. We use Barracuda. Proofpoint's another one that's very popular. And they did a nice research report of modeling, and they show the peaks of phishing and how after the government announces that we're all going to need this vaccine shot or that vaccine shot, how many things pop up that are fake and telling you this and telling you that, and people are filling in these, answering these questionnaires, going to these sites, getting tricked on social media because they're curious. So there's a lot going on in terms of social media marketing by cyber criminals to get us, to phish us, to get information from us. So I'm going to actually go through some examples of that for you. So those are the things that have really changed. Let's talk about social engineering. I think this is important. I mean, I know this is a little off from zero trust, but the reason we have to worry about zero trust is because when you see the diagrams I show you, you'll realize that what they're trying to do is figure out a way into our network and traverse our network using our credentials that they've stolen. Why? Because the rest of the stuff is doing a great job. Firewalls are doing their job, encryption is doing their job. But if they can get our credentials, if they can pretend to be us, if they can act like us, if they can get themselves and be in the middle of our email chain, then they can trick us into ACHing money, wiring money, stealing money, that kind of thing. So let's talk about social engineering and what's happening here. Here's the little, actually, they do this report every year. So this is from 2018, but they literally produce this human factor report 2019, 2020, 2021. But it's very interesting is that only 3% of malware actually tries to exploit a technical flaw. What do I mean by that? A hole in a firewall or a bug in a software program. That's not as big as the social engineering aspect of it. So when you read and hear about they hacked this program, hacked that program, that sure makes the news because that's actually far and few between. The most common thing and the thing that happens most consistently is social engineering and getting their credentials from a user and finding them, whether it's on the dark web, and using those credentials to actually get into your system. So not so much brute force bugs in software as much as through social engineering. That's why I wanted to kind of emphasize this a little bit while we're going through this zero trust. So hopefully I'll be able to play this video for you and you'll hear the audio. I'll hopefully get a thumbs up from some people to tell me that it's working because I'm going to try to pass the audio through. So here we go.
For like a network
nothing,
test,
of course.
But it's for the people network, and then help
I'm
people
not
learn
hearing
so they can
anything.
patch them.
Can we try some of this? Can we?
Let me pause that. Let's figure out what we got here. Unless you guys were hearing it, I sure wasn't. Huh? You were hearing it. So I couldn't hear it, but you guys could. Okay. I wonder if I turn on my speaker, if you guys are gonna get feedback. Let's try it one more time.
Try some,
Yeah.
see if it works.
Yeah, we probably could have our star visher here make some phone calls as your
Let's do
girlfriend.
it.
Sure. Do you want to do a sample vishing call?
What's vishing?
Vishing is voice elicitation, and basically what you do is you use the phone to extract information or data points that can be used in a later attack.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Who are you gonna call?
Maybe I'll call your cell phone provider
Okay.
and see if I can get them to give me your email address.
I bet they're good. I bet they have my back. But yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna spoof from your number, so it's gonna look like it's calling from you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay? My baby, I'm sorry. my husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby and he's like, get this done by today. So I'm so sorry, I can't call you back. I'm trying to log into our account for uses information and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's crying and can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds,
gmail.com?
Jessica gets my personal email address.
Now, if I needed to add our older daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes, how would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN through a text message? Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to receive a text message if I'm on the phone. Shh. Oh, I'm not on there either? So I thought when we got married, he added me to the account. Okay, my
Jessica
name
uses my girlfriend's name and a fake social security number
is 5127.
to set up her own personal access to my account.
Wait, I'm sorry, so there's no password on my account right now? Can I set that up?
She even gets the support person to change my
Thank you
password.
so much for your help today.
So she just basically blocked me out of my own account.
I'll get her fed after this. All right, thank you.
Holy shit. So they just gave you access to my entire cell phone account.
You're gonna have to go on and change your password now because it's Jess, my name.
And all it took was a crying baby and a phone call.
Yes.
I really thought that my cell phone company would.
So this is not new. Hopefully you could all hear that fine. This is a perfect example of what's happening now. And now they're even getting sophisticated with what they call deep fake voice manipulation, where they're actually making it sound like your boss or sound like official from the bank, that kind of thing. But here's an example, a very simple example of social engineering. Now, the most common one that we all know about is the phishing from email. I made a list, and I know it's kind of long here. You'll get a copy of this, but spear phishing is very targeted. That's when you get an email and it looks like it's coming from someone you actually do business with. They did their research, they did the homework. Maybe they've been in your system and they know you do business with Amazon all day long and PayPal, and you expect to see things like that. So they make sure it looks legitimate. Maybe it's even an item you recently bought and they ask you questions about it, or the purchase failed, or the credit card didn't go through. So you provide that credit card information. The spear means they're targeting you, not just a general email. This has really been well conceived and well thought out. In some cases, it's very hard to tell that it's not legitimate. Link manipulation, sending you an email that they've intercepted, man in the middle, and they've changed the link, or they've changed the payment instructions. CEO fraud. I know people don't like to admit it, but it's happened around town. I know of actual customers that had this happen to them, and they get upset because the CEO fell for it, and they want to know why IT wasn't able to block it. Well, if you think the CFO is telling you to approve something or do something, how would no trust verify work in this situation? Don't trust that it's from him. Pick up the phone and call. Do a voice verification. That's what zero trust means, is don't just assume things are correct, assume they're not. Don't trust it. That's different. Don't think just because the email says it's from your boss, it really is from your boss. It could have been faked. If you get something from the bank, don't assume it's the bank. Go directly to the bank site. Don't open that link from PayPal or Google or eBay or Microsoft or Apple or whatever. Don't believe it. Go directly to that site. If you really got an invite to connect with someone on LinkedIn, go directly to LinkedIn and log in. You'll see your notifications in there. But if you click on that link that you got from an email, it can be absolutely fraud. Malware is talked about a lot, and we're doing a better job with that. We're doing a better job with spam filtering and advanced protection, so attachments don't come through. Well, now what they're doing is they're not trying to send the malware in the attachment. They're sending you a link that you click on that takes you and downloads the payload and part of the payload, not everything. So now they're breaking it up into chunks. So now there's a program that comes into your machine that doesn't get caught because it doesn't look like malware. And it turns around and goes and gets the rest of the pieces that it needs from the internet and brings them back, and it assembles itself into malware on your machine. Smishing, this is really getting bigger. How many of you are getting SMS messages about CDB oil or, whatever, even your packages in from that you ordered? I don't think big companies are going to continue using SMS for much longer, because they're starting to get spoofed and hacked, because we don't know that number that's coming from, right? It's some 5-digit, 6-digit number, random number that says that your pharmacy. I get messages all the time from CVS. So do I really want to click on that link from CVS saying that, your prescription is ready and to check on it? Well, not so much. I mean, I know a lot of companies are using this thing, but you don't want to click on links from those things. I mean, you may get the message, but you definitely don't want to be clicking on them, because there's a huge growth in SMS messaging fraud, and easy to spoof that. The phishing, which is the voice changing, is exactly what you just experienced with this demo, where she was able to trick the phone carrier into giving information, and it worked. And then Evil Twin is a little bit more involved. It's very much kind of something that could happen in an airport or happen in a large public area where someone could set up a fake Wi-Fi and capture your credentials on their Wi-Fi by spoofing, and you're connecting to their access point, and then they're connecting you to the real Wi-Fi. Another example of this is that those credit card readers that they put on gas stations, that happened here in Rochester a couple times now, where there was actually some skimming devices installed on some gas stations around town, and they were skimming the information for credit card. That's why a lot of these credit cards are going to be moving away from the magnetic strip completely and just using the chip. But I just want to give you an example of all these different social engineering things, because this is what's happening. And why are they doing it? Is because our network is getting stronger. Our perimeter got strong. They're figuring out ways to get to the weakest link. And what's the weakest link? The human factor, us. So let's talk about what it looks like. So the attackers are here in red. Our assets, both people and computers, are blue. And we have gotten very complex. We have lots of networks, and we have lots of users, lots of devices, lots of connections. Count how many you have in your home. You have a Roku, you have a Google Alexa, you've got a Nest, you have a Ring doorbell. My new microwave is Wi-Fi enabled. I mean, refrigerators are getting internet enabled. So this IoT, Internet of Things, and all this connectivity is literally what's creating this complex network. We literally have 10, 12, 15, 20 devices in just our house that are connected to the network. So these hackers are smart. They're looking for holes in that. You'll read about how this camera company has a bug in their camera, or they find a hole in net, a bug in Nest, and they get access through Nest, or they can get access through video camera that you might have installed for Wi-Fi camera, that kind of thing. So security is complex, many devices, many users, lots of different connections. Well, we worked on the trusted network design. We basically put a perimeter around it and said, we're going to secure this. So all the initial attacks were network based, seemingly simple. Basically, they would look for holes, the weakest link, the door that was left open, the account that wasn't secured with a password or had an easy password, or a device that had the factory default, your copier that you never changed the factory default password on, or even some cases, the Wi-Fi access point that you have the default password from your Linksys router or Belkin router or whatever. So people were literally not doing a good job there. So we worked hard at building the secure network. Then we turned around and we went outside. We left the office. We brought our own device. We work from home. We're doing mobile. We're in the cloud. SaaS stands for software as a service. That's your cloud service. That's your using Salesforce or QuickBooks Online or any other program that's hosted somewhere for you. So we increasingly moved all these assets that we need to protect outside the secure perimeter. So we kind of made it a little bit easier again for these criminals and attackers. So now attackers decide to shift to identity attacks. So you think identity theft isn't a concern, you're absolutely got your head in the sand. This is exactly what they're doing. They're going to social engineer us to death. They're going to play man in the middle. They're going to figure out our patterns. They're going to figure out our processes, and they're going to try to get into our systems using our credentials and trickery. That's what's going to happen. That's why I used that example with that and that actually example is kind of old. That's probably 5-6-year-old video at one of the hackathons. They were doing it, they had a reporter there doing interviews with some of the hackers. So this is why we're having the zero trust conversation. We've got to change our mindset, not trusting and verifying, but zero trust and verifying every step of the way. When you get in one entry, that doesn't give you automatically access. So if you come in through your fob in the door, maybe you stole the fob. Well, you get inside and you go to a computer, you don't have access to that computer. You've got, everything needs to be locked down and isolated. You really are starting to create the opposite of what we did is we made it easier once you're inside the perimeter. Now we've got to make it so no, you only have access to what you should have access to. So anyone have an idea of the average breach detection time? This number's gotten a little better, but what I'm talking about is how long until we detect a breach? What's the average? The number's gotten better. This isn't so good, is it? Companies take about 197 days to identify and almost 69 days to contain a breach. That means they've been in your system for how many months? 6 months more before we actually know? Well, the proof is in the Uber hack that went on for 2 years, or the bug in Kaseya, which I guess existed for a couple of years. I hate to say it, but our own NSA uses these flaws to their advantage until they become public knowledge. Then they tell people to lock them down, but they take advantage of them. So companies, the shorter and quicker you can detect, the less damage. They show an example here is you can save by the way, most breaches are someone in the neighborhood of 3 million and say, well, my company's not worth 3 million. You don't understand. We're talking insurance companies. We're talking large payments. We're talking averages. It's all proportional. You're a big organization, you're going to be paying a hell of a lot more. Even a small organization, what's a Bitcoin worth today? $65,000, and they want a couple Bitcoin from you. I had one company that got breached. They wanted 5 Bitcoin from them. The company only had one choice, and that is to wipe and restore. Now, a lot of people say, well, that's okay. We got good backups. What happened to the pipeline? Did they have good backups? What happened to the meat packaging? Did they have good Why did they pay these $1 million ransoms? They didn't have backups? Sure they did. But the recovery time was gargantuan. And they guess what the second threat is now. Oh, we're going to just publish your stuff. We're going to put it out there on the internet. We'll post it on Facebook. We'll post it on the not even the dark web. We'll just put it out there for people to have all your information. So what happens is this stuff gets sold and passed along multiple times, and so you can't just say, well, I'm just going to rely on my backup. Because if you have medical data, you're going to be paying fines. If you have personal information, you're going to be paying fines. New York State, every single business in New York State now falls under New York State Shield Act and has to worry about breach. And if you have a breach that over 500 New Yorkers have been exposed, over 500 different New Yorkers, PII has been exposed, you have to report it to the Attorney General. That's the law. It came into effect in 2020. So the breach takes a long time. So let's talk about zero trust. What do? Well, we want to control access to the computers and identity. So this is the big thing, is now we're going to really get more into using something better than a password, such as a fingerprint, such as a multi-factor card, CAT card that the military uses, retina scan. Facial recognition has been spoofed, so they're not so big on facial recognition with the phones. That hasn't been really enhanced that well. But that's one thing, is protecting your network. And there's different products and tools that do that. But then also your identity, making sure that it's not just you. We're not just you with a password, but we send use something multi-factor, like your PIN code sent to your phone, or an app that you use, or some information, the security question answer type stuff. So that's evolving. So there's all kinds of vendors out here. There's all kinds of vendors promoting security products. There is no one size fits all. There is no zero trust program that you're going to buy. You're basically going to have to work at building layers of protection, and those layers have to transcend your physical office. So now you've got to protect your users at home. Well, how do you do that? You protect them by having identity tool like Duo or Authy or something like that to identify the user, to make sure it actually is them. You have to do geofencing to protect and make sure that, well, there's no reason that Susie's trying to access from Europe, because she's not in Europe. So why would we allow that computer to have access? Why would she be coming in from a computer? So even though the identity criteria might be met, the network criteria might not be met. So it takes a combination of those things. So you want to limit your network. And one of the things they talk about is segmenting and separating your network, breaking it into smaller chunks, so you only have access to the things you need to. What's that do? It prevents the spread. It creates containment. If you think about fire protection, one of the things they do with fire doors is they try to separate and condense and control the spread of the fire. Well, that's the same thing here. By using zero trust access control, you're actually trying to prevent, if they are able to get into one computer, they can't get over into the next computer next to them, or the server or whatever. So policies for security and access becomes very important. So the more you limit the control and access of that user or that machine, the less damage that can be done. So someone bringing in a BYOD, bringing in their own device from home and plugging your network, doesn't expose your network. It also alerts the IT or your SOC, your operations center, about that. So you have to really pay attention to where your assets are. You've got to pay attention to where the data is and who has access it, and you can't just leave it wide open. You've got to change the conversation about security, and you've got to really, just like you may lock up the payroll files, you got to get better about locking up everything else. You really got to start locking down the network and only giving access to exactly what you need. So practice least privilege as well. Where do we go from here? This is the question I always get asked. What do I do? I will tell you that this is not a one and done. This is not a set it, forget it. This is really adding different aspects to your security approach, your IT cybersecurity plan. So the most popular one that you're actually gonna get called out on, your insurance company is going to ask you for doing it. We've been doing it with the banks for years, is multi-factor authentication. That's getting that text message with a PIN number. That's using a mobile app that gives you a digit code, or one of those little fobs that has the codes that change every 30 seconds. That's what multi-factor is. Maybe it's a thumbprint scanner on the computer in the office. It could even be a retinal scanner. It could be a lot of different things, to be a CAT card. So that's what multi-factor means. Is single factor is your username and password. Multi-factor is that third, fourth, fifth type of method where it actually confirms your location, it confirms your device. An example would be, are you on a computer you're authorized to be on? I mean, what are you doing on such and you always see in the movies, they sit down at someone's computer and they just start hacking away. Well, how are they even able to turn it on without having the right code? That kind of thing. So don't believe the movies. Network segmentation. This is not new. We've been doing this as SCADA, which is industrial controls. This is what we hope that the government's doing for water treatment facilities and military, is they separate the segments. The target breach was caused through HVAC controls that are on the same network as the point of sale system. So segregation means segmentation means separating the network using VLANs, breaking it up so the video network doesn't have access to the voice network, doesn't have voice access to the data network, and you can even get down to departmental breakdown of network segmentation. So you can break it down by applications, users, departments, things of that sort. Privileged access management. We introduced this to our customers. A lot of them, well, we could have done a better job letting people know it was coming. We sent some emails out, but people didn't really understand what we were telling them. Privileged access management means you can't just install a program on your computer just because it's your personal computer. It's really not. It's the company's asset. And now we don't want you installing an update that might not really be legitimate. It could be malware. We don't want you installing a game program or something you got for free from the internet, because it might have some potential program payloads with them. Those free card games or free games on the internet all have ad tracking and malware that comes with it. That's part of the way they make their money. So privileged access management is controlling access to folders, files, and programs. So you just don't get free reign to install anything you want, including me. I can't just install anything I want on my computer without, getting an administrative prompt saying it's got to be approved by the admin. That's what's privileged access management. It's another tool to help prevent programs from running that shouldn't be running. 24-hour SOC monitoring. SOC stands for Security Operations Center. This is someone paying attention to the logs. This is someone monitoring the activity in the network, not just outside getting in the network. This is actually Security Operations Center monitoring the traffic flow, looking for anomalies, being alerted, seeing something in the logs, and not letting it go for months without being noticed. Every situation that has happened has been documented, where there's been documented in the logs, the breach would have been, if it was someone was looking, they would have known that there was a breach. It wouldn't have gone on for weeks or months because no one was paying attention to the logs. Our firewalls create all these logs. Every time we log in, that gets logged. Every attempt gets logged. If no one's paying attention to the attempts or the failed attempts or the frequency or the location where they're coming from, if they're just getting stuck in a file somewhere and not looked at, well, we're giving these criminals lots and lots of time to eventually get in. Software-defined WAN, software-defined wide area network, multiple connections, being able to shut down a connection that's being hacked. You may be being attacked on one IP address, so you shut that down and you switch your internet over to another IP address. That's what SD-WAN can do. It's very powerful. This is how you can help prevent denial of service attack where someone's actually trying to shut down your system. Well, let them take that system offline, but meanwhile your users are still able to access. You're still able to do what you want to do because you have multiple connections with multiple carriers. Obviously, it's not inexpensive because of the redundancy, but if you have a business that depends on cloud, if you have a business that depends on the internet, there's absolutely no reason not to have multiple internet connections. Apply access based on least privilege. This is really the idea of build it up, automatically deny access and have to give it. So when you go install a new program, who gets access to it? At what level of access they need? You don't give everybody access, you work it back up. Get used to this. Never trust, always verify. This is the new mantra. This is the dynamic. This is what Zero Trust is all about. Don't trust, always verify. Become suspicious of email. Don't let your guard down. And then this is even worse, is assume a breach. Now, the way I worded this could be assume you've already been breached or assume that you will have a breach. So what are you going to do? What tabletop exercise are you going to run to say, okay, we just got a breach. Someone got hacked. What do we do? You should actually do those kinds of things. That's why military does war games. They're practicing for the inevitable or when it's going to happen, be prepared. Boy Scout motto, be prepared. Well, we have to be that way with cybersecurity, and that is we got to assume the breach, and we really need to make sure that we can minimize the damage and we can recover in a reasonable amount of time so it does not put you out of business. That's really the key. I wanted to bring up what we call a security framework. There's lots of what's quote unquote security framework. The one that I put quotes around best is NIST. And I say that because NIST is a standard and more organizations are being required to follow it. So this is what we like to use. And this is how we would help you if we're going to try to tighten your security, is we would use NIST 171. And then 207 is the new standard on Zero Trust. So 171 for cybersecurity. They're both under the 800, but just so you know, this is what more and more organizations are requiring. And if you are NIST compliant with these certifications, with these types of security frameworks, you'll pass in flying colors, HIPAA, PCI, CMMC, government, for military, things of that sort. This is why I call it one of the best frameworks. There are others. If you're an international company, we should look at the ISO 27001 and 2. The ISO is the International Standards Organization. That's an international body. It's recognized worldwide. NIST is the American version of that. So what should you do next? If you haven't done a security assessment, you haven't had one in a while, I would equate to not going to the doctor for your annual checkup. This should be, if not an ongoing process, it should be a minimum of a yearly process. It technically is a requirement under the SHIELD Act, and that is an annual assessment. What's included in assessment? You want an independent review by a third party. Basically a second set of eyes. You want someone else testing your environment, checking your environment. That includes doing a penetration test. That includes doing vulnerability scans. That includes reviewing your network topology. How are things connected? What are you doing for redundancy? How are you separating your Wi-Fi? Review the configuration of the firewall. Is there a configuration mistake? Let's make sure that there's no holes in the firewall. Are we do user awareness testing and training? Let's test our users. Let's make sure they're getting training. This is actually a requirement now, just like sexual harassment training. You got it. If you're a lawyer, the ABA, an example is the ABA is requiring 1 hour of CE credit required in cybersecurity for your continued ed requirement. I'm sure CPA isn't going to be far behind that. And then dark web scanning. That's paying attention to the breaches. When there is a breach and the information is put out on the internet, let's make sure that your information is not there. If it is there, let's make sure we change it. But the best place to start is with a security assessment. Yes, they cost money, but it costs a hell of a lot less than a breach. And I'm not kidding. We're talking a fraction of the cost. Plus, it will help you with your insurance. When your insurance comes around, they're going to be asking you a lot of these questions, and you're going to want to be able to prove that you've been doing these things. So I'm going to open it up for questions, answers. You can shoot me questions through the system, and there's a Q&A in Zoom. There's also a chat. So whichever you want to do. I've got one question here, and that is, I already have an antivirus and a firewall. Is that good enough? That is a common question I get asked, but unfortunately, that's just the starting point. That's part of the whole picture. It only covers a few of the NIST requirements. It doesn't cover everything. So the fact that you had antivirus and you're updating it, that's wonderful. The fact you have a firewall is wonderful, but that's really not helping you with all the mobile devices. It's not helping you necessarily with the work from home. And in most cases, people are putting holes in their firewalls by giving them VPN access. So what does that mean? That means I'm using a computer remotely that maybe I saved the password to the VPN in the machine gets stolen, someone fires up that machine, they turn on the VPN and they're in my network. Or maybe I'm connected to the VPN over the network and I go to, on a different window, I open up a browser and I'm surfing the internet, going to maybe sites I shouldn't be going to. But it's my own personal computer and I'm doing it in the comfort of my home, but I'm still connected to the corporate network on the VPN. And now I just let something into our network because of my surfing activity on that remote computer from home. So yeah, having those tools, we're not talking about getting rid of anything. We're actually talking about adding some more layers of protection and also minimizing the impact of what that damage that person could do if they were compromised. If that user was breached, what did we do to prevent, I guess, further problems? Any other questions? I got one more here. Multi-factor. Can you explain what I do if my employees, we don't own the employees, it's their own cell phones, and we don't want it's their own cell phones. We want to have to get them paying for their cell phone or reimbursing their cell phone. But we need to we need to do multi-factor. You can get the banks used to do it for a long time. They would give you a little fob. You can actually buy a little security fob. It's got a little LED window on it, and you can assign that to that employee. RSA is the most popular, one, but you can get them for Duo. And you add it to your key ring. You can give it to the employee. You can turn it off when they leave. You have them turn it back into you. Costs a one-time fee of like maybe $50. And then you don't have to use their cell phone. So if you have a situation where maybe they're shift workers or there's plant people and you don't want to have an email address and you don't want to have a use their mobile phone, you could use a one of these little that's why we they're kind of like a fob, but they're showing a digital display. Question about 365. 365 does have auditing. You have to enable it. It's not on by default. Audit is a feature that they do offer. It depends on your subscription, but I do recommend you turn on auditing. It also will log in and out for you, and it's pretty extensive. I think the audit, you can set the retention time on the audit as well. So yes, I do recommend. There are some configurations options with 365, also for enabling multi-factor, which is a great idea, and then also turning on some additional security features as well as auditing. So yeah, auditing is a good one. What that does is it can get in and out. Like, you definitely should have audit and capability, archiving and audit turned on for, say, HR emails and things of that sort. Any other questions? If you get questions later, if anything I said didn't make sense and you'd like to have a sidebar conversation on this, ask me more questions specific to your environment. That's, I'm happy to help. You can shoot me an email. Here is my email address and contact information. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can call me, email me. I'm happy to help review what you're currently doing for cybersecurity, and any questions you have, we're happy to assist you with that. Hopefully you have a better idea what this whole new Zero Trust is all about, and you basically can move away from the trust and verify and move into the I'm not trusting anybody anymore. And I think all these emails are scams. So I have people saying, I'm not clicking on that link you sent me anymore. And I think that's funny, but they're doing the right thing. I mean, if you don't know how to look at a link clearly to see that it's legit, it's really diminishing the value of email in some cases. So it's getting harder and harder to send legitimate things through email without letting people know it's coming. So that's the verify. That's, call up. Did you really send this to me? I have employees checking with me. Did you really send me this email and you want me to open this? So yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea to verify something, especially when it comes to financial stuff. When I hear about these people that have been tricked to wire money or ACH money, I'm like, why didn't you ever pick up the phone and check? Regardless of the email address being, you got to realize they can spoof phone numbers, they can spoof email addresses. It's really kind of crazy. We all have to become suspicious and paranoid now with using the internet, but that's unfortunate, but that's where we're at today in society with this stuff. Well, thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the session. We do have one next month. I don't have the date yet, but we are doing one next month. Have you outgrown your ERP system? ERP is your enterprise reporting system. That's your accounting system. It's your business system. We're finding a lot of people are using old technology, older systems, older Peachtree, QuickBooks, Sage, and they really need a newer one that actually can do a lot of these more secure things. Some of these old programs aren't able to do anything other than run as an administrator, which is horrible concept. And so it may be time to upgrade your ERP system and look at some of the newer ones, the new technology. Some of them are going to be cloud-based, so we have to have that conversation regarding security as well. But thank you for joining me this afternoon, and happy Veterans Day to all those vets out there. Thank you very much for your service.